Hey guys, the real Haitham here, aka RGB Fox, and I'm here for a new pre-release discussion for Haitham. Honestly, it's been a while since I made one of these, and that's just because I didn't really want to talk about Scaramouche, and I generally avoid the 4 stars. And, another thing you guys might be asking, his banner comes out in a few days, why do it now? I just wanted to talk about, misconceptions regarding his kit, and overall how you would want to play this character, as well as of course his best weapons, his best artifact sets to go for, and ultimately what you can do to prepare for this character even though he's right about to come out. Do note that what I say about Haitham is not a direct representation of how this unit will actually play or how good he will be on release. Things can change rapidly in this time frame and have his kit work completely different than what was even shown to us in the 3.4 livestream. But with that being said, let's get on with the discussion. So if we start looking at his normal attacks, at level 10, of course, they don't look all too special. The damage multipliers are pretty low, and of course, that means that your spread damage on these attacks will be low as well. But don't fret. The only thing you really need to focus on with the normal attacks in general is just whether or not it'll be able to trigger your mirror instances on your elemental skill. Even though the damage from his normal attacks have been nerfed, it doesn't really matter because the majority of your damage is going to come from your elemental skill and how well you get to manage the mirror projections that you own. For the most part, you want 3 mirrors at once, and that is of course because not only will you deal the most damage like that, but you'll deal the most spread damage if you play him in a spread team. The reason why is because his elemental skill has a special ICD where it will hit every 2 hits and apply Dendro, and the reason why you need elemental application for him in order to do spread damage is because that's how it works. You don't just get spread damage because your attacks are infused with Dendro. The attacks have to actually apply Dendro to get the spread bonus, right? So in this instance, what is the special ICD that he has on his elemental skill? He applies Dendro on his elemental skill every 2 hits. Specifically, I'm talking about the mirrors. So the mirror projection, if you have 3 mirrors, hits the first time with spread damage, the second time without spread damage, and then the third time with spread damage. And how do you ensure that you get these mirrors to 3 at all time? Using his elemental skill and having him rush forward gives them 1 mirror. Assuming you started with 0 mirrors though, it'll give you 2, but you don't really want to start with 2 mirrors alone. So the other way that you get to cheat it out, and the best way, is by using his elemental burst. The elemental burst ensures that you get 3 mirrors if you have no mirrors at the start of the elemental burst, and honestly that is the best way that you get to cheat it out. After that, every 4 seconds you do end up losing a mirror, so if you want to maintain those mirrors either with his A1 passive by using a charge attack, or I guess in some cases a plunge attack, or by using his elemental skill, you get to retain 3 mirrors for a very long time. However, in my opinion, I think having about 8 seconds of infusion is just enough for certain team rotations and comps, but of course, do what you will. If you want to retain it for the whole 12 seconds with 3 mirrors, then you would do burst, get your 3 mirrors, then do your elemental skill or your charge attack to get the 3rd mirror after 4 seconds again, and then after that you do whichever one you didn't do, whether it is your elemental skill or whether it's your charge attack, to get the 3rd mirror again and have another 4 seconds of infusion with the maximum amount of damage that you can do. Now I know I rambled on for a while, but I also wanted to mention that his A4 passive rewards you for building elemental mastery on him rather than attack, as 0.1% times whatever elemental mastery he has gives him a damage bonus for his mirrors. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in there. This, in my opinion, makes him a pretty strong damage dealer, and is one of the reasons why I believe he's still going to be pretty good despite the nerfs that they gave him along the way. So honestly, when I said in the last video don't worry about him, I'd say still don't worry, because I think he's still going to be a pretty good unit in those teams. Now, when we talk about artifact sets that you want to give him in artifact main stats, before we go to the artifact sets, the main stats that you want to give Haitham are going to be ultimately EM on the sands, Dendro damage bonus on the goblet, and either crit rate or crit damage on the circlet. Of course, could you do all EM? I guess in some Bloom teams, sure, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think that for the most part, you want to play him as a spread damage dealer, and thus EM, Dendro damage bonus, and crit is going to be your overall main stats that you want to focus on. Now, aside from all those stats that I mentioned, I also think it's important to note that if you're going to play him in a spread team especially, you're going to want 100% energy recharge, and it could even get dire to the point where you need an energy recharge sans. I've seen somewhere between 150 to about 200 if you don't have another either Dendro unit on your team or maybe a Favonius user. But if you do, then that can always be dumbed down to maybe like what, 120 to about 150-ish energy recharge total. So yeah, just work with what you've got, and note that he's going to be reliant on his burst for the 3 mirrors that he wants to get. When it comes to artifact sets, I think it's important to know that yeah, either Deepwood Memories 4-piece or 4-piece Gilded is going to be the best ones for him, and largely I would recommend 4-piece Gilded the most. But if you don't have a Deepwood Memories user on your team, then I recommend him on Deepwood Memories. And especially if someone else on the team has a Deepwood Memories set triggered on their artifact sets, I would say that ultimately you can go for 2-piece options if you don't have a 4-piece Gilded set. It could be 2-piece Deepwood, 2-piece Gilded, it could be 2-piece Gilded plus any of the other 80 Elemental Mastery stats, or because you need energy recharge, it could even be 2-piece Emblem and any of the aforementioned artifact sets. But do not, for the love of God, go for the attack percent ones, because it's not worth it, like whatsoever. Gladiator's Finale, I've seen some people like want to play Gladiators with him. Do note, sure, your like normal attacks are going to be buffed, but what about your charge attack? What about your skill? What about your burst? There's ultimately no reason to go for that, and I'd much rather either stack Elemental Mastery for more damage bonus on my mirrors, or go for the Deepwood Memory set so I can get at least a 15% Dendro damage bonus. So yeah, if you're looking to play Gladiator Shimenawa, I mean, shit, do what you want to do, but if you truly think that that's going to be good for him, I got some bad news for you. Of course, when it comes to weapons, he has an array of them that he can use, but I would argue that the 5-star weapons truly outshine the 4 stars. The only one that I would argue that you could use to its fullest potential, assuming you have a really strong shielder on your team and can keep him up above 90%, is using Harbinger of Dawn. Harbinger of Dawn gives him a lot of stats. It gives him really good crit damage on the main stat. It gives him a lot of crit rate, again, assuming it's at Refinement 5 and you have him over 90%. So that is going to be a weapon that you can fully utilized to the extent, because any crit damage, any crit stats in general is just good for a spread build. Of course, if you're going for a Bloom build, for some reason you want to use him instead of Nahida in a Nilo team, or you want to use them together, you can always opt for the Iron Sting, or for the free-to-play weapon, the Takobo Shigure. You also have Zypho's Moonlight and the Sapwood Blade, but I would say in general Iron Sting might be the best one overall, and the new Elemental Mastery weapon that we got from the recent event is better in single target instances. When it comes to the other weapons, I do not recommend any of the attack percent weapons, and I don't recommend Sacrificial Sword even though you want the energy recharge. If you're going for the energy recharge stats, I would just go Favonius. Of course, Favonius Sword is going to be great for not only himself, but also to generate energy particles for the rest of the team. But when it comes to 5 stars, Freedom Sworn ends up becoming a really good weapon for him, because again, the Elemental Mastery and the damage percent that you get from the weapon, the buffs, etc. is just very valuable. Again, the attack percent weapons are going to be great, such as the Summit Shaper. The key is also going to be meh. I mean, I know it gives you Elemental Mastery, but the HP is just kind of wasted on him. The Skyward Blade, I guess, could be decent if you just really need it. But again, I would argue that the other weapons, such as the crit-oriented ones, are the ones you want to go for. His best in slot is obviously going to be Light of Foliar Incision. It's the new weapon that's going to come out, and not only does it give him a whopping 88% crit damage, but it gives him some crit rate, 4% aside, reminiscent of the Skyward Sword or Skyward Blade. I'm thinking about Legend of Zelda. and of course it gives him damage bonus based on his elemental mastery, right? Aside from that, it also boosts his normal attacks and his elemental skills, which is a key core of his gameplay. When it comes to the other weapons, you have Haranga Paku Futsu. The passive is kind of wasted on him since the normal attack damage will be boosted. Of course, for his kit, you also want to boost every other aspect of his kit, mainly his elemental skill. The Mistsplitter Reforge offers a good amount of crit damage as well. It offers a really high base attack, elemental damage bonus, and you get stacks that provide additional bonus, but I would say that he utilizes it pretty well, right? You know, doing normal attacks, elemental burst, and the other one might be hard because you do want your energy recharge to be full so you can go and get back your 3 mirrors every rotation, but you know, it's still a good weapon to invest in if you already have it. Of course, Primordial Jade Cutter is also going to be really fire. You're going to get a 44% crit rate with the weapon, and the passive is, you know, is pretty decent, right? You get more survivability since you do have a pretty good base defense, right? And you know, it gives you some attack. It is again a little bit wasted since you really just want to invest into elemental mastery, but I would say Jade Cutter is still a really good option because it just gives him so much crit rate, and a lot of players may not have enough crit rate in their stats for their artifacts to be able to invest into the other weapon options. Ultimately, I think Haitham is going to be pretty good for not only low spenders but also high spenders, and that's due to the many ways that you can utilize this character to your advantage. And honestly, the teams that he's going to do well in are definitely going to be Bloom teams, whether they be Hyper Bloom, whether they be Super Bloom, I guess, with like Nilo, and I'd probably even say in Virgin teams he could fare decently well, especially being able to apply Dendro for a large period of time. I would argue that he'd be able to manage himself well in those teams. However, I think if you want to use him with his kit in full glory, you'd 100% want to put him in a spread team, right? Whether it be with double Electro, whether it be with single Electro and an Animo, or maybe even with a shielder such as Zhongli. Do note that in a lot of these teams, you're going to have to give him a lot of energy recharge, so a secondary Dendro unit is probably going to be the standard for Haitham. Now, does that mean that he has to? No. Again, if you have cracked artifact substats or main stats, then they're going to do him a very big favor in how well he's going to work in the current meta. There are definitely some shortcomings that we will see here in the upcoming live patch of 3.4. So, you know, if you don't think or you don't know if he's going to be so good, I would argue to wait till the rerun comes out. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video, and also thank you for almost 220 subscribers since the last video has come out. It's honestly a milestone that I'm glad that I was able to hit, and I only have you guys to think about it. This has been RGB Fox, and honestly, if you like this video, consider subscribing, liking, and commenting on whether or not you're going to pull for him. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you.